Son of don't do this to me, baby. Sorry about that, folks. What was that? Okay. Oh, did you get another notification? Oh, okay. Sorry about that, folks. Having a little technical difficulties. It can't be. This is my show, so it's all your fault. It's always your fault. Um, no, yeah, we did. Yeah, my internet did, crap out on me. Just a second. So, apologies. But yeah, let's continue on continue with our review. I was just gonna say that. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, yes, it's. I didn't. My problem wasn't necessarily with the casting, but with some of the decisions, kind of like the acting choices. And you're gonna think this is hilarious, but I'm just gonna say it. My problem uh, my problem was the kind of like the dialogue. My problem was with the dialogue, and one thing they sounded like Jews, and I know that sounds rather funny because I know that they're playing Jews, but they sounded like modern Jews. Kind of like
Yeah.
the New York kind of
The
Osh,
the
Ashken.
Scorsese gangster Jews.
Yes, exactly. Um, and so yeah, that would be my one kind of bone of contention to pick
It
with
was
this
like
movie.
Mean Streets, but in biblical times.
Yeah, like that one, like the actor who played Zebedee.
Yeah,
He sounded like he came from a Canner's Deli.
you're absolutely right.
I know I'm right. That's why it's so funny.
I didn't. I don't know why. Like, well, I mean, you mentioned it now, and it's like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. But I didn't catch that when I maybe because I was just in such disbelief of all the artistic license I was taking,
Uh-huh.
story,
Right.
and just how, like, to me, how jarring Willem Dafoe as Jesus really is.
Mhm.
Um, well, and then even like the other thing that bothered me too was, um, because afterwards, okay, so he comes off the cross, um, and then he's living his life, and later on he encounters, um, well, we see him a couple times in the movie. One is Saul when he's Saul, but now he's Paul, and he's preaching about the risen Christ, and it's like, well, that didn't happen. So what the hell is going on?
Mhm.
And that part like made no sense to me. Like, as far as like, because to me it didn't seem like it was like this alternate history other than like, yeah, Jesus got older and he had kids with well well, first it was supposed to be Mary Magdalene, but God kills her for some reason, and then it goes to, um,
Mhm.
everyone else carried on like life was normal, and it's like the Gospels had happened, and like they were just kind of continuing like everything just taking place. But maybe I don't know about you, but like I was lost. I had no idea what the it kind of
you're the suspension of disbelief was was was
yeah,
ruined
it didn't work for
for
me.
you.
Like even as like yeah, like that part. The other part that like didn't really work for me either was the whole relationship that that Jesus does have with Mary Magdalene, because the way that they like meet, it's like oh he's always been constantly going over there, and she's saying oh you're not a real man, it's like she's in love with Jesus, but like in a sexual way, and I mean maybe that was true like in real life that there was um, initially like kind of that kind of attraction with Jesus, but um, yeah, that whole relationship was weird and like how like she was like it was almost like they grew up together or
Right?
like
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. It's like oh that's not true either. It just it's very weird. The whole thing was like
Yeah.
and his closest disciple was Judas, but that doesn't make sense either. He was actually he wasn't part of the inner kind of the inner three that Christ really was close with. It just lots of really interesting choices. Not a lot of it worked for me, if at all.
Right. Well, I mean, if we, I think a lot of times we do, we kind of get lost in trying to compare to like, a lot of things that are based in history or like in this case the Bible. Kind of get lost in trying to like understand like the history, but I think we should,
But I'm
I think we should,
but I'm I'm
we
just
should try to, just kind of review it on the merits of the film itself, and not necessarily oh this doesn't follow the scripture or this isn't historical. But I
well
do, but having stated all that, I do understand your point.
yeah no but even as far as like
But the way I understood that, like the whole like the Saul Paul thing was like that was um, you know a reality, like busting through the vision that the devil had put there for him. So it's like so yeah, so he's living his ordinary life. He's married. He has children, and then you have like this interjection of Paul, and he says like, oh, I experienced the risen Jesus, and he goes to confront him like that didn't happen. I didn't die, but I think I
okay
think that
I that makes sense.
yeah.
So it's kind of like how in Batman the animated series where
Wait, hold on. I'm getting like some mad feedback on the line. Oh Jesus! Like, hold on. I don't know what's going on. Hello?
yeah
Okay. Oh, geez, I don't know what that was, but it's like really loud feedback loop going off in my ears.
so,
It seems to have passed by now, but
okay.
continue.
But I was saying it's like when Batman's under the spell of the Mad Hatter, he lives like this life as like his parents hadn't died and all that stuff. So I could see where yeah it's part of reality kind of breaking through the vision. I didn't think of it that way. That's kind of I kind of an interesting way of looking at it. Um, like on just like a movie level itself. Um, I mean, I guess it's not like terrible. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's competent enough. Uh, it's like I said, it's just if I'm taking the Bible out of it, I'm taking the historical context out of it. It's really is kind of like one of Scorsese's more ho hum um, movies. Uh, I still don't like. I like Harvey Keitel. I like Willem Dafoe, but those are not the right roles for them. It didn't work for me either way.
Right.
Plus,
Yeah.
with because Willem Dafoe, like I don't know if those are like were his like real teeth or not, but when you think of like a Messiah like type of character, like his teeth are all like really fucked up. It like
Yeah, he
he
has
looks
the spacing on his teeth is really weird.
yeah, it's like and compare that to as we when we look at Passion of the Christ, Jim Caviezel, perfect teeth, baby.
Yeah. Even for
I
someone.
don't know if they were I don't know if they were veneers or not, but damn, dude, like spot on teeth.
Yeah. Yeah. We're we're of the same mind on this. I think technically is this is a very well done movie. A lot of a lot of interesting shots. Um, it was shot very well. It was edited fairly accurate. It was edited well. But I think for me, this is there's something just lacking in the story. Maybe if they had adhered even though this is based on a book, which is based off like kind of like these hearsay, hearsay stories and apocryphal books. I wish they would, I wish they would have tried to inject a little bit more scriptural accuracy into this movie. Because again, I don't mind that this story exists. Like, I don't mind that the writer of the original book wrote this. Um, but a little more scriptural accuracy would have been nice because you could if you want to say that Jesus didn't know that he was the Messiah or he was like God incarnate or whatever, fine, okay, whatever. But then make him. But once he understands who he is, then have him lean into it and not like the first message he gives after the 40 days, he completely fumbles the ball.
Oh yeah, it
Any
was like
any insight
that.
any insights essentially a class riot. Like where they're like shouting,
Yeah,
kill the rich, kill the rich. It's like if he understands now that
well,
he's the son of God, then that wouldn't have happened.
yeah, it's what lacking just like the in, as a movie itself is you have this character go through this journey, um, and you know, and then the first thing he does like after he goes through this journey, it becomes who he's supposed to be, fumbles the ball right away. That's kind of seems like a waste of a journey.
Right, and yeah, and the whole like scene with John the Baptist too. That was weird because we know
Yeah, it
that
looked more like
we know that
yeah, it looked
they're cousin. So it's like, oh, I've
yeah,
never seen him before in my life. It's like, dude, that's your cousin.
right. And it was more like the Jordan Puddle instead of the Jordan River.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just like this idea that that, and again, like I know we're like knocking it because it's not closely following to the scripture, but the idea that John the Baptist was calling like the idea that John the Baptist himself was calling for like a revolution, like an earthly revolution, it's kind of absurd. It
That's
goes totally
kind of true.
against the purpose of John the Baptist.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. Do we want to give our rating on this one, or we want to wait till the end?
Let's just keep it now. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, I'm.
Unless you want to like
It's
compare
not.
contrast.
No, no, it's okay. I'll
Okay,
give
yeah,
my
just
rating.
all right. Go ahead.
It's not. It's not complete garbage. It's like you said, there's some interesting parts and thought provoking stuff concerning the film. Cinematography is good. Costume design is good. Set design is good. So I'm gonna give it a two, just because the story is pretty weak. Some of the casting decisions are a little questionable. Some of the, like you said, the dialogue is a little questionable, but complete garbage. And if you're a Scorsese fan, um, check it out. If you're kind of curious about this, yeah, check it out. I recommend it, but there's some interesting curiosities to check out. I don't think it was worth the near 3 hour runtime.
Yeah,
No.
definitely. Um, right. Well, I'm gonna give it just a half point more, just based totally on technical merit. Just like I think this is a beautiful movie. I think uh, it could easily be passed off as been made today. Just some of some of like the compositional choices for like shots and and lighting and things like that. I think there's it was really great, but again, just not by much. So I'm giving it a 2.5. So yeah,
I will say,
I'm going knife's edge.
yeah, there was no ginger bias in this film because both
Right?
Jesus
Yeah,
and
because
Judas
Harvey
were.
Keitel, full on ginger. Man, he makes an ugly. He would make an ugly leprechaun. I'll tell you what.
It's like he looked more like the leprechaun from the horror film Leprechaun than
Yeah, that's
an
right.
actual leprechaun.
It's really interesting though
Oh,
that that the kind of like the question posed, like, what if Jesus was tempted one last time on the cross, and it's like, the devil went
and
basic, and the devil went basic and tempted him with some pussy.
yeah,
How well the devil knows the heart of man.
it, it has been the thing that has destroyed man in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, just earlier this month, when we did Samson and Delilah.
Yeah, hell, it happened back when it was Adam and Eve. So
Yeah, it's literally Adam and Eve. So yeah,
this
you
damn
heard it
woman,
here, folks. You heard it here, gentlemen.
this
Pussy kills.
that damn woman,
Pussy
they
kills.
made me. Yep. Or according to our friends on Titan, it's like you have a little pussy, get a lot of pussy. You know.
Yeah. All
Oh
right. Well, yeah, that's our review of Last Temptation of Christ. Robert gives it a 2. I give it 2.5. Would recommend, uh, but mostly, if you're a Scorsese fan. And that's one of the one of his works that you haven't seen yet.
yeah,
And yeah, and if you consider yourself a Scorsese fans, then yes, by all means, watch this movie. Uh,
but man, that it was a little bit of a slog on the runtime. Oof.
yeah, yeah, again almost 3 hour runtime, and it's not like the not enjoyable Avengers Endgame kind of 3 hours. It's you feel those minutes watching
Oh
this
boy,
movie.
yeah. It took me a couple days to get through it. I'll
Yeah, I mean, I know, you know, this didn't have an intermission break, but I had to take an intermission break for myself while watching
Same.
this. Yeah, it was just too much. All right, let's get on to the last movie for tonight. That is the Passion of the Christ.
Yeah. All right. Well, you wanna?
Yeah, let me just bring up the synopsis for this one. All right. In this version of Christ's crucifixion, based on the New Testament, Judas expedites the downfall of Jesus by handing him over to the Roman Empire's uh, handpicked officials. To the horror of his mother, Mary Magdalene, whom he saved from. Wait, I should. To the horror of his mother, Mary Magdalene, whom he saved from damnation, and his disciples, Jesus condemned to death. He is tortured as he drags a crucifix to nearby Calvary, where he is nailed to the cross. He dies, but not before a last act of grace.
So where we both enjoyed the all the cinematography and set design, all that costume design in the previous film that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
This movie blows that way out of the water. Holy
Oh
crap!
yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. Just in
Uh,
terms of uh, like immersion, this is done far better than Last Temptation of Christ. Like you actually believe that you're in first century Judea.
yeah. I think this is also the majority of it was filmed in Italy.
Mm-hmm. I believe so. Yes.
Um,
I mean,
and
given the
yeah,
cast, a lot of the cast are Italian actors. So
yeah, and the only I don't think he was big at the time, but the only like big name actor that we would recognize is Jim Caviezel, and this is the movie that made it.
or Monica Bellucci.
That's true, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I remember watching it the first. I remember watching it in theaters, and I was like yeah, that Mary Magdalene's too hot. That was just my thought. It's like Monica Bellucci is such a beautiful woman. Tasty Slice confirmed, but that's obvious. But
but
she was so beautiful. It was a little distracting.
yeah, well, and that's uh, yeah. I mean, I would assume that Mary Magdalene was a very beautiful woman, so
Mhm.
maybe she was too hot. I mean, she was a prostitute, so I mean, you had to be a little bit hot to.
Wait, was she? Well, like there's always this confusion about like the Mary or like the woman because like
So
there's
so
the prostitute, there's the adulterer,
so
and
there's
then there's
three Marys.
also right, yeah,
Yeah, you have uh, you know, Mary, the mother, Joseph's wife. That's the mother
the
to
mother, yes.
the Virgin Mary. Although she didn't remain a virgin because Jesus had siblings. Um, then you have Mary, the sister of Martha,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there and like it's Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. Those three are related.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Mary Magdalene. She was the prostitute that was saved by Christ. And um, although it's not stated biblically, it is believed that the story of um, Christ with the what you call it, where he's the verse is talking about like you
With the adulterer, right? Where they bring in the
who
woman.
among you has not sinned cast the first stone,
Yeah, that's
and like
that.
the
that
whole idea of him and the person that is supposedly a lot of people speculate that the woman that's there is supposedly Mary Magdalene.
okay, so the woman caught in adultery
Yeah,
was.
a lot of scholars speculate that that may have possibly been Mary Magdalene.
Mhm.
Um, but like I said, there's nothing biblically to
Link them,
say
yeah.
that that's true, but it's speculation from
Right, right, right. Um,
scholars.
right. Just really quickly. Yeah. If yeah, this movie, The Passion of the Christ, this makes the Last Temptation of Christ look like a high school production.
Dude, yeah, and Scorsese is like one of the greatest
Right, and
directors of
I'm
all
not.
time.
Yeah, that's not a ding against Scorsese or his skill. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, was this uh, Gibson's directorial debut?
I don't believe so.
I don't know,
Let's
like
see.
because yeah, he well later on he does like a movie Apocalypto.
Right.
Like
Oh yeah, but that was after Passion of Christ.
that was after this. Yeah, this is like the first one I can remember where like he's like directing, producing it, all that stuff.
Pull up the IMDb here.
Uh, and
Oh, he has
what I
9
like,
credits.
he hasn't done too much. I think his most recent film was like
Oh,
Act Up.
technically the first thing he directed was a TV movie documentary. Mel Gibson Goes Back to School, but I think his first theatrical uh, his first theatrical director's credit is The Man Without a Face.
Oh shit, I forgot about that film. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the one with Elijah Wood.
Yeah, yeah. I totally forgot about
Oh, and he
that.
also, well, he that might have been co-director. It says here he directed Braveheart too.
That's right. Yeah, he did do part. He did.
Right, but I thought he
Yeah,
also had a co-director, the one that he did We Were Soldiers with.
that's right. But I think that was after Passion, wasn't it?
No, 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 Braveheart was before Passion.
No. I know Braveheart was '95, but he did We Were Soldiers too. That was his movie. Like that he
Well, he
directed.
was in that movie, but then I think the guy who helped co-direct Braveheart uh, fully directed We Were Soldiers.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um. So okay, let me go. Let me go over this film because there was obviously when this movie came out in 2004, people went fucking ape shit over this. Like, oh man, we gotta watch this. This is the most important movie of our time.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it is a bit especially for people within the Christian community. This is a very powerful movie. Obviously, it's
Mm-hmm.
talking about the passion of Christ, essentially going from uh, the Last Supper up until his death on the cross, and at the end, the ending is essentially like his resurrection. Um, with like some other you know flashbacks thrown in. And one thing that's interesting that they do in this is a lot of there's been work with biblical scholars trying to create a gospel narrative that is chronologically accurate, utilizing all four gospels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because the way that they're written here is the gospels are written thematically. They're written, each one is written with a different purpose in mind, and it's written to a different audience. So that's why like certain things are included in others that aren't included in another one, um, or then there's like some stories that are included in four. Uh, but what they were trying to do in this is kind of creating chronological timelines. They're including stuff that is in all four gospels that they threw together in this. Um, so it's not just like one. It's not like they're utilizing the Book of Matthew. They're utilizing all four gospels. They're using some extra biblical sources and
Right.
scholarly speculation.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I knew about was kind of like this Catholic tradition of like this woman who offers her, her like a scarf or something to clean off the face of Jesus, and that becomes later like uh, some
Yeah,
sort of relic that's able to like heal people. That was in this
yeah.
movie. So that's like that. So
Well, then there's
that would be the extra biblical
right.
material.
Yeah. So there's a few of those moments in there, and the one thing that because Gibson was saying is like he didn't necessarily want it to be he wasn't necessarily going for historical accuracy, but he did want it to be as biblically accurate as possible. And but then he was also going to take some artistic license. We get that in places where Satan is kind of lurking around,
Yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah.
have and some of the demons and stuff that he shows, and
Yeah, like
you
when
have his
like the kids are kind of tormenting Judas, and like their faces flash into like demon a little bit.
well, and yeah, and the one thing I actually thought was I liked that part of the movie. That's another artistic license is because biblically we don't other than that Judas killed himself. Um, we don't know like what type of torment he actually went through. Judas is actually a very interesting character. Uh, unlike in Last Temptation, he wasn't necessarily like best buds with Christ, even though he was one of the disciples.
Yeah, he's one of the homies, but he just he wasn't like
Right, and
he just wasn't in like the smaller circle. He was part of like the circle, but then like circle within circles kind of.
yeah, exactly. And biblically with Judas, yeah, he uh, a lot of people speculate that it was the time where at Mary Martha's place where was it? One of like the last things where like Jesus had that very expensive jar of perfume like poured over him
Mm-hmm.
when Judas was saying it's like because he was the money man and he's like
Right,
we could have sold that and we could have given that to the poor and just like yeah you'll always have the poor like you're not gonna have me for much longer
right,
and that's when it's like oh this guy isn't gonna overtake Rome. It's something completely different, and that's where like he starts scheming. Um,
right. Well, that's the point where Judas becomes disillusioned with Christ, and he goes to betray him.
right, but what I liked is that because afterwards we see like after Christ is handed over to um, the Sanhedrin and the high priest of the temple, uh, he does regret like selling out his friend,
Mm-hmm.
and he tries to hand back the silver, and they're like, "Yeah, that's blood money. We can't take that."
Yeah,
It's like, um, and so then he goes and ends up like killing himself because he feels like he he can't overcome that betrayal.
right. Yeah,
And
he can't live with himself knowing that he betrayed his friend.
yeah, but I thought like Gibson portraying um, the anguish that he was going through,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I thought that was actually very tastefully done. Kind of like I said, it does give us a little bit of insight into
Right.
some of the horror.
It humanizes him for sure, and for us, a brief moment becomes a sympathetic character.
The other thing I love about this film is I'm really happy that they have it shot in uh, the languages of the time. So obviously you have Aramaic, you have Latin, you have Hebrew. Uh,
Hmm.
I didn't Greek. I didn't hear any Greek, but those three languages are used. And funny thing is that Gibson didn't want there to be any subtitles. He just wanted it to be in the language, but they overrode him on that one.
Oh
So
yeah,
they
I
got
mean obviously.
some. I'm kind of like yes, I do know Hebrew a little bit. I have studied Aramaic. I don't know Latin yet. I mean I know some terms, but thank God that there are subtitles because I would have. I mean, obviously, I know the story. I could get through it, but
Right.
it would be so weird without there being any subtitles in the film.
No, yeah, I was a little worried because like the copy that I found, uh, the subtitles
Now,
didn't come out right away. And I was like, oh shoot, what the heck? And I was just. But then I went into the controls and I figured it out. But yeah,
yeah, there were parts where subtitles weren't needed. Like when Jesus is getting whipped, uh, he is.
yeah, he's
That's
being
all.
mocked
I
by
think
the
it's all
Roman.
in Latin. Yeah, but there's no subtitles in that scene at
Right,
all.
or at least not everything was subtitled like the mock like some of the mocking of the Roman soldiers was like in Latin, but it's like I don't I mean,
Yeah,
it's, you don't see the translation of what they're saying to Jesus.
exactly. So I like, but I said I
But I mean,
really like
ultimately, but in those instances, it might not necessarily be 100% necessary because I think you're supposed to get like the emotion of the moment. Where it's like you're watching this
right.
guy,
And
this innocent man being being beaten, nearly to death, and he like these men, even though they're supposed to be professional soldiers, they're taking this kind of perverse delight in torturing uh, this man,
yeah, it
and
was.
it just kind of makes you think. It's like they don't even know if he's guilty or not. They're just ordered to do it. And it's just like so
They like the
how many other men like that didn't that didn't deserve it, were given this treatment. So just
yeah
kind of and so like and so coming from the point of knowing that Jesus did nothing to deserve this, it hits you even harder.
yeah no that was really really powerful. Um, and the other thing is like a lot of people, oh, this is just torture porn, and like this is we can't watch this. Like
Right. I think that was a lot of the criticism when this movie first came out. It's like,
um
oh, it's so overly graphic, and why does the violence need to be portrayed in such graphic detail? It's just like
yeah, but
because
that's exactly
that's what
what
happened.
happened.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, because
that's
like
exactly.
it's like it's the same people who are criticizing Alien for its or no, who was praising Alien for its like groundbreaking visuals, and like the graphic horror, but then you see something, you see Jesus being beaten, nearly to death. It's like, oh, that's too much.
Well, it's so these are also the same people that also watch that whipping scene in Roots.
Oh, right, yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, this
And
is
what's your
great. This
name,
is
boy?
the
Toby Kunta Kente. Your name is Toby.
your name is Toby. Like these,
Right.
like,
And
but
they're
they
like,
love
oh,
that.
it's so powerful. Like we need, like yeah, we needed to see this, so we know what black people went through. It's just like, yeah, exactly. That's why we're showing you this, so you know what Jesus went through for you.
Yeah. No, there was. Yeah, and I think that's because we read. I mean, I have a good imagination. I didn't like have screens put in front of me at like 2 years old. Um, but like you read this stuff and it's like sometimes the the visuals don't always get there, and seeing something like this, which is for the most part very biblically accurate, and seeing that actually take place, it's like holy shit, this is
Right. Because
this
yeah,
is this is
because I
serious.
think a lot of the media that we get like depicting this scene is very sanitized. He in other iterations, you might see like Jesus have like a little welt, like a kind of like a welt on his like cheek, or you might get like the kind of like the crimson stripes, across his back.
Yeah, I mean
But you don't see the detail they went into like in the scourging. It's just like,
the
dude, Jesus looked like fucking hamburger meat.
yeah, the makeup designer that worked on this did a fucking fantastic job. They should win.
They obviously the special effects
Yeah, they
makeup
did win.
person,
They did
they
win.
must have done their research. Like they must have went out and like flogged some pig carcasses
Yeah,
just to get the. I think they actually did do that. I think to get
yeah,
the look right, they went and like they got reconstructions of like the cat of nine tails and things like that. And they saw the damage done like firsthand, so they could get like they could truly represent what would have happened, what if Jesus' body would look like.
yeah. And, well, he did in the Academy Award in 2005 won for Best Makeup. Yeah, obviously. Cinematography and Best Score. Um, yeah, no, that was the thing is that's exactly what happened, and that happened to a lot of prisoners at that time. Like, they would beat the shit out of these people.
Hmm.
and a lot of them didn't make it. Like medical speculation, based off yeah, after especially after this movie came out, a lot of people did medical doctors speculated like what exactly Jesus was going through physically, and uh, more than likely, he was going through shock. I mean, your skin is essentially an organ, which they nearly skinned him to death,
Right.
and
They nearly skinned them alive.
yeah, and the yeah, he was probably going to shock, and
Yeah, because
like
of
he
blood
could barely
loss.
eat. Yeah, and uh, yeah, it was bad, but but that's what happened. And now, as far as the what's actually happening to Christ, yeah, the physical pain was there, but what a lot of people, like Christians and people who aren't Christians and non-Christians alike, don't realize the spiritual and emotional torment that Christ was going through, because you have, and this is where mystery comes in, that we don't understand, we can't understand what was going on, but like we have, Jesus, who's part of the triune God, he's part of the Trinity, and he has separated himself out from that to come come down on earth, to be that sacrifice for humanity, and he's essentially completely separated from God in that moment. And yeah, his body's hamburger meat, but that pain hurt worse than all of those with, you know, essentially his skin being ripped off. And we just don't understand like how much pain that must have been
Yeah. Uh,
like. But yeah, no, this is a great, and that, like I said, I was kind of concerned to try to go back to this after, I mean, 2004. There was so much hype. Like, if you were at church at that time, like that was what you were doing on like on a Friday or Saturday night. Like, we gotta go see the Passion of the Christ.
right. There were churches reserving entire theaters just so like their
Yeah.
congregations can go and watch it.
Um. And yeah, so I was a little concerned, kind of like, I'm watching this 16 years later. Am I gonna feel the same way about it? And I was, I'm, I really like how this movie came out. Like, they did a really good job. Um, uh, God, yeah, it grossed $622 million worldwide. Um, that's yeah, it was super super popular at the
Hmm.
time. There was, I guess, and I guess I didn't think of this, um, or I didn't hear about this initially, but like apparently there was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, this movie is very anti-Semitic." It's like, well, no, how? Um, the guy that is being killed on the cross, he's Jew. All his all the disciples, his family are Jews. Like, how is it anti-Semitic? Like, this is what happened. They and it wasn't that like, oh, Jews killed Christ. Like, yeah, he's a Jew himself. Like, it's like, so I don't understand what's anti-Semitic about it.
Right. it's like saying Boys in the Hood is anti-black. Like why? It's like, well, you have black people killing other black people. It's like that's what happens.
Right. Um, well, and even there's a lot of, when we look at the Passion too, there's a lot of, it starts with like Palm Sunday, where like people are celebrating, Christ, like they recognize him for who he is, um, that he is, essentially King of the Jews or whatever. And then you look to, um, the next week when he's, um, being put on the cross, and everyone's like booing him, spitting on him.
Right.
Kicking
Yeah, I love that the that contrasting shot where you see Jesus, and he's being jeered at and spit at, and things are being thrown at him. And then he has kind of like the memory of just the week prior, and like that same crowd was cheering for him, and giving him a royal welcome into the city of Jerusalem.
Now, see, here's where I'm going to differ on that, because I I argue that it's not the same that's that was cheering from the week before isn't cheering at it, and I think this movie does a pretty good job of showing that too,
Oh
because
well, yeah, 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 yeah.
uh,
But
because you look at how
but I'm gonna say that in real life there was I'm gonna say a 50-50.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that there was a few. It's like, oh, he's not going to try to take out the Romans, so screw this. Um,
Or
but
there are some
he,
people who are just like who are kind of like the disciples that scattered after his arrest, just kind of like they're just kind of more or less going with the crowd, um,
well,
and being
I think
getting swept up in the frenzy. But go ahead.
no, but my point is that like the whole thing is a fly by night operation. Um, Caiaphas and all the the elders of the temple uh, are essentially are trying to do this under the cover of darkness. You even had that one elder's like, but the whole, like not everyone's here. Like we can't like, make any judgment and like kick his ass. Because he's like,
You could
because
say
he's
that
going
it
against.
was a conspiracy.
Well, that's exactly what it was, and you even have like the whole court thing that was kind of the kangaroo court that was set up. It was they probably off, which is not unlike something that would happen today. And
Well,
a lot
yeah,
of
I
people
mean,
don't.
I don't know if you caught it, but or I think you did mention this, but when they initially brought Jesus into the temple, and like the guard, like the temple guards, they were going around to houses and they were giving people money to come out. It's like, hey, come out and be our mob.
Yeah, and see, like uh, that's that's why like I think this movie does a pretty good job of showing what was really going on, and because then you also see, there's people that were Christ followers, obviously, like his disciples, like his mom, Mary Magdalene, were there, but there was other people that knew who he was. They were weeping for him, and it's like, what's going on? He's innocent. He's innocent. Why? And he didn't do this, and a lot of and yeah, like a lot of those people that were like jeering at him, like not even a week later, those aren't the same people. It's and I think, like I said, I think this movie does a great job of giving visualization where like sometimes the imagination just can't see it. Um, uh, yeah, this movie's just done really well. I really like the film a lot. And just
Hmm?
I'm trying to think if there's any other like scene or I can't really think of anything else. But, do you have any other like scenes or things that you enjoyed about the film?
Hmm. I think. Oh, I don't know why, but I always enjoy uh, depictions of the scene in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah,
Um,
this is definitely the best one.
hmm, well, in terms of composition and aesthetics, I kind of like the Last Temptation of Christ one a little bit more than Passion.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Well, I think
I'm
because
kind of surprised.
I think because Last Temptation of Christ, uh, the the composition or the setup of the scene in the garden was more aligned with kind of like the traditional images that you would have, Jesus, kneeling by the rock and the moonlight coming down. So aesthetically, I like that better, even though I think the one in Passions is more uh, emotionally powerful. Because it's like even though there is some moonlight, he's still mostly in darkness, which goes to the frame of mind or that kind of like the current situation that he was. Like he felt like he was alone. He felt like as though he was in darkness because he knows what is about to take place.
Yeah.
So just that, yeah, just in terms of aesthetics, I liked Last Temptation a little bit more, but in terms of uh, emotional depth and symbolism, I like Passion.
Okay, that makes sense. I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, I think that definitely conveys the emotion of the moment. Whereas, like, maybe because the reason I didn't like the one from Last Temptation is because I don't know. I didn't believe the performance of Willem Dafoe in that moment. Like I
Right.
felt
I mean,
like
yeah, and that's why in terms of performance, or depth and feeling, I give it to Passion because, yeah, Willem Dafoe is supposed to be portraying Jesus at his furthest stretch. He knows what's about to take place, and yet, he's praying earnestly. He does put that out there, or he does portray that, that he is praying like in all earnestness, and he's like desperately and desperation. But but how it's depicted in Passion is a lot more impactful. You
yeah,
have him like sweating, and like you have like it's like I think they did like the blood for sweat thing where Jesus was praying so hard that he began to sweat blood, and which kind of gave him like this kind of dirtier look.
yeah.
And
Now
so
here's
yeah,
something
so
else.
that's yeah. So in terms of like impact, I think Passion did it better.
One other thing is before we and this will be my last thing. As far as uh, Jim Caviezel as Christ, did you like how he looked as far as like his I thought his eyes were like a little interesting, like because they went with like
Right?
a very
They did
color.
lighten them. They did lighten them because I know Jim Caviezel has like dark brown eyes, but
Yeah, but like
I
they,
think
but it wasn't even like it was like a bright brown. It was like orange. It was a weird
yeah, it was
color.
a very warm, almost like amber.
Yeah. Uh, but like, did you feel like he looked the part pretty well?
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah, because you have like I don't know, like you have Ginger Christ from The Last Temptation to this
Right.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. Willem Dafoe's Jesus was he definitely he was more like a sandy blonde.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, you
but
always have
yeah, but
those like
Jim
kind of deep.
Caviezel's Jesus I think is more accurate. Just given
Yeah,
just
because
given just given the area of Judea and
yeah,
in the region of Palestine. There's no country of Palestine. There's the region of Palestine.
yeah. But yeah, no, I thought the eye color was so sometimes
Yeah.
like not distracting, but I don't like I said ticky tack.
Well, were you
I
lost
just
in
thought
this? Were you lost in Jim Caviezel's eyes, Robert? Is that what you're trying to
I was a little bit, yeah.
say? I don't know. I really
But
didn't notice, but the second, seeing watching this now again, after like 16 years, as you said, I did notice that his eyes were lighter, and then I just thought that they enhanced his eyes at the end, but kind of remembering back to the movie, yeah, his eyes were light the entire time. It just wasn't for that scene at the end when he's like resurrected.
right, right. Yeah, no, I like I said, there was things that what when I watched it back then to now, my knowledge and my wisdom is completely changed. Obviously, I know so much more about the gospel, the narrative now than I ever have. Um, I've studied Hebrew and Aramaic, so I'm actually able to. I think I could have gone by without the subtitles this time around. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's a good movie. I'm glad that I watched,
Agreed.
and I think if you're looking for a movie with the with a fairly accurate gospel narrative, this this is the movie for you. Uh,
Right, and
this
I mean,
is
I
a
think as kind of like an evangelical tool, I think this one is better than Last Temptation Christ.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, like, not share the, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't use this as like the introductory tool, but I would highly
No,
recommend like you sharing this with someone who's read the gospel, who's seeking and who's at least read the gospels, if not at the least one of the gospels, and then show them this movie to
yeah,
let them know that what Jesus went through. It's like it's not just a book, it's not just a story. This is
yeah,
factual. This is historic. This is historically backed up. It's like every ancient historian has mentioned that there wasn't a man named Jesus who taught in Judea and who taught a very radical uh, sect of Judaism, and he uh, was executed by the Romans. It's confirmed, not just in the Bible, but in
extra sources.
ancient sources, and also the it's in the records of the Romans, because the Romans, like all great societies, they have that keep all great societies keep great records, and the
Yep,
Romans were no exception. And so there's literal documents saying with of prisoners or execution lists, and like the name Jesus appears. And it's not. It's like, oh well, Jesus could have been a very common name. It's like, no. It's like, again, great great societies have great paperwork. And it's detailed. It's not just, oh, just it wasn't as though it was like there were like 20 Jesuses on that sheet. It was like
yeah.
Jesus,
I mean,
from this region, from Nazareth, from son of you
from
know
Galilee.
from Galilee, son of Mary and Joseph, and and on and on and on, to drill
Well,
down.
and and the other thing that with those ancient historians too, they also talk about during the time back, they record some of the things that are going on during the time of the book of Acts, and how all of a sudden the disciples who they start talking about them. It's like you see how emboldened they are and fearless they've become. And it's like so quick. And we know like some of the stories of them from the biblical narrative and how that's really not the case at all. At least when during the Gospels. And so it's like clearly something has changed in them. And it's like, well, what is it? It's the resurrected Christ. That's what changes the whole game for them. life becomes
Right, and also it's who and like a simple test would be like, would you die for a lie? Like
yeah,
if
no,
people it's like, oh no, there's they just the disciples just lie, they stole Jesus' body, and they hid it away so no one could ever find it. It's like would you ever die for a lie? Someone said if someone you and your buddies each had a lie, like, oh yeah, and then you were caught, caught by the police, and like would you die for that lie?
yeah, it's no,
No, exactly. And it's like it was the same for people back then. No one would die for a lie.
yeah, it wasn't like it was like Paul and Peter and these guys were one or like was the first martyr was Stephen, where it's
Yeah,
like
Stephen was the first
he's
martyr.
about and he was about to be stoned to death, and he could have gotten out of it, but he's like, no, it's this is I'm going to share the gospel here, and I'm going to die, and that's what happened. He was stoned to death. Yeah, same thing with like Peter, like he kept getting beat, whipped, all this stuff, and instead of like, yeah, you know what, it's not really worth it, he kept going at it, and eventually it led to his death. And same
Right.
with Paul.
Yeah, it was like, would you die for for the claim that water wasn't wet?
Right.
It's like, yeah, who would do that? Nobody would do it. It doesn't make sense. Like, I would not die for the lie that water is not wet.
Yeah, it's be ridiculous.
Precisely. All right. Let's get our rating and get out of here. It's a long one.
Yeah. Um, this is a 4.5 for me. Um, I think it's not only biblically accurate, but it looks beautiful. Um, the makeup, uh, costume design, fantastic. Set design, it looks great. Um, I like the idea that they went with the languages of the time, not just some like British uh,
Right, which is kind
British
of like the
actors.
default, like because like with Gladiator and stuff, like a lot of people do, like they depict Romans with like British accents because they think like, or with
It's
British
distinguished.
actors, yeah, it's like more distinguished.
Yes.
And no, but then also like Latin, Latin sounds a lot like Italian, so no one wants to, no one wants to hear Maximus like, "Are you not entertained?" You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So kind of, I understand
Um,
why they do it, but it's like, uh, are
but
you
yeah,
not
no.
entertained? um,
And yeah,
yeah,
it's
you
just
know what?
I
I'm
think
gonna. What was that?
I was saying this movie's really well done. It's
Yeah,
really good.
it's really good. Um, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 as well, but I'm only dinging it a half because Monica Bellucci is too damn hot.
uh,
She's too distracting.
yeah, no, it's like if you're wondering what it looked like when they beat the crap out of Christ, this movie is the one to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And I second the Mary Magdalene was just too damn hot.
Yeah, she's too damn hot. Or Monica Bellucci portraying Mary Magdalene was just a little too
Yeah,
distracting for me. Just a little too distracting. Because Monica Bellucci, she's a beautiful woman. She's like a stupidly, ridiculously beautiful woman.
agreed.
Right, tasty slice confirmed. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we gotta start making that thing. I'm gonna start putting up tasty slices on our Instagram.
Yeah. Yo, we should that should be a t-shirt of ours. Tasty Slice.
Yeah, tasty slice confirmed. Yeah, oh, I'm gonna come up with some designs.
Awesome.
Uh, all right, well that's our review of Passion of the Christ. Both Robert and I gave it a 4.5. Definitely recommend it, even if you're not someone who thinks that they're really would be interested in a Bible story. This movie is so much more than just the Bible story. It's a great movie. Period. Great cinematography, great effects, great really great acting. And you have to give them extra credit because they're because they're because you're speaking in a dead language,
Yeah.
or at least or possibly multiple dead languages.
Yeah. Well, Aramaic and Latin are dead languages.
Yeah. Um, and so yeah, definitely recommend it if especially if you're an individual who's seeking. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say if you just if you're seeking but you don't really know much about the Bible and things. I wouldn't recommend you watching this first thing. But definitely, after you connected your connected yourself to a local church and you've read through the Gospels, minimum two Gospels. You know,
Yeah.
best if you read all four Gospels, a minimum two Gospels before watching these movies. And in addition to all the things I mentioned previously about like, getting involved in a local church and getting a few sermons in under your belt.
Definitely.
All right, well that's the show for tonight. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It's all Robert's fault as usual.
Yeah. Well, what a way to end what a way to end biblical epics month.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because especially when I mentioned Last Temptation of Christ, you kind of looked at me funny, but I think it falls within like the definition of an epic, especially
No,
with.
no, I'm actually happy that I watched it just because I did want to watch it. Yeah, I was like, I don't know how this can really fit to uh into the fold, and you know what, it did. I think, and especially because we had the delay, so we had to do them together. I
Mhm,
think that really helped.
mhm. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Don't forget to join us next week for another thrilling, exciting episode of Nocturnal Transmissions. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows we have. Circle of Jerks main podcast. The latest episode just dropped with Robert's friend Jason. Don't forget to give
The
that a
first of
watch.
our remote podcast.
Yes, our first Corona edition podcast where we do it remotely. We kind of it's kind of similar. Just in the way we do this show, it's just not live. We just record it. We just do it through Skype and we record it, and then I just go in and edit and drop it later. So do give that a watch. Don't forget episodes of Nocturnal Transmissions, Robert's Gaming Show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts: Twitter at PodcastCOJ, Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast, and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ. And with all that said, we thank you again. Come join us again next week, and we'll see you then.